Hey, what's up guys? What you're going to see in this video is my last 3 weeks of the Candito Linear Program, control version. I'm actually still running the program, except I'm doing the hypertrophy version now. So definitely check out the previous video for more info about the control version. So I just want to note that I'm only showing the last set of each exercise and only the first and last rep or normal speed. Everything else is sped up, and I'm just skipping over most of the accessory work so that this video isn't ridiculously long. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing here, feel free to leave them down in the comments section down below. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is 5 tips to run this program successfully. This is my second or third time running it, so I do feel like I have some helpful insight to share, so let's get right into it. Tip 1, if you're new to lifting, stick with the same exercises between heavy and control / hypertrophy or explosive day, whatever you choose, or try to stay as close as possible. So for squats, stick with low bar or high bar, same stance width, everything. Bench press, same grip width between your heavy and your spoto presses. Same thing with pull-ups. If you're using a barbell movement for your shoulder exercise on heavy day, use the same thing on control day. Don't switch to dumbbells. You get the idea. And the reason for this is so that you can get more practice in with whatever movements you choose. And I recommend at least 4 weeks sticking with the same movements. You really want to spend time on these movements so that you can develop some mastery over them and to really make progress. If you're more experienced, then throw in some variation as needed. Another idea is for deadlift, I decided to split the work between conventional and sumo. So I'm originally a sumo puller, but I do believe that part of what caused my injury to my glute was neglecting conventional work. And this is something I noticed with a lot of sumo pullers actually. So anyways, that's why I prioritize conventional now. At the same time, however, I don't want to lose my sumo pull, especially since it's so dependent on like positioning and mobility and muscle memory. If I don't practice it for a long time, it just seems really hard to get back into them when I do. So if you're more experienced, you can add in more variations like this. With deadlifts, for a beginner program, there's relatively a lot of working sets within the week. There's 5 total sets. Compare that to like 1 or 2 sets for starting strength or Texas method. So that's why I think doing something like this is okay. You're still getting enough practice in with either pulling style this way. For squat and bench, I wouldn't recommend splitting the work between 2 different styles within the same day. Those lifts seem to really benefit from a lot of the same sets done the same way. So that's what I've experienced and that's what I've seen. With some experience, if you want to do low bar on heavy day and then high bar on control day, or like bench press go wider on heavy day and a little bit closer on your hypertrophy day, that's fine. Same thing with pull-ups, go wider or closer. That wouldn't be so bad. If you have a purpose for adding in variation and it gets you excited to train, that's fine. Candito himself says that motivation is a training variable, so I feel like this goes in line with the overall philosophy of the program, if you will. So after 4 weeks, you can even swap out exercises altogether. So for instance, swap out dumbbell rows for barbell rows. That can make the same program feel fresh and new again, and it adds some, novelty factor to it. And if that gets you excited to train, that's great. So tip 1, stick to the same exercises for at least 4 weeks if you're new to lifting or just getting back to lifting. Once you're more experienced, throw in some slight variation to spice things up to keep things exciting. This is a linear progression program, meaning you add weight every time you do a certain lift. So the longer you can do this program, the more those weights add up and the more you progress. But use variation as a tool when needed. So with programs like starting strength, your mind may actually burn out before your body does due to the monotony. So I think that's why Candito allows for some flexibility. But if you're new to lifting, monotony is your friend. Tip 2, add weight slowly. You have the option of adding between 0 to 10 pounds each week. And I think actually the older versions of this program allows for 15 pound jumps. You want to leave some room to grow. If you're confident that you can add 15 pounds, just add 10 pounds. If you think you can add 10 pounds, just add 5 pounds. For the bench, I'm adding 5 pounds each week, and it's continuing to go up really well. With overhead press and dumbbell row, I'm actually adding only 2.5 pounds on each week, and they feel like they're going up even better than bench. This is really important for building confidence and building momentum and therefore motivation. And if you want to be able to use 2.5 pound increments, check out my micro-loading chains video. So contrast this with squats where I was a little overconfident. I was going up 10 pounds each week, and I feel like I'm getting closer to hitting a wall sooner than the other lifts. Deadlifts, I feel like I could have added 15 pounds each week, but I stuck with 10 pounds, and it's continuing to go up really well. So there's no rush. Training sessions should be tough, but at least I'm in the tank. In the beginning, it's not so bad to fail because everything is going to feel hard, but you need to learn what regular hard is and what, oh my God, I'm about to fail hard is. With more experience, you want to stay the hell away from failure so that you don't fry yourself physically and mentally, or fry your CNS, your central nervous system. At this point, you're handling more weight than a true beginner, and it's going to take more to recover from failure. Plus, you're at a higher risk of injury because of heavier weights. And this is a little bit arbitrary, but it gives you a general idea. Check out the strength standards on exrx.net. Once you're hitting intermediate numbers, you really need to stay away from failure. If you're experienced and you know that adding weight next week will just cause you to fail, just go ahead and preemptively drop the weights and build back up again. There's no real benefit at this point to actually miss a lift or to just grind up against the wall. If a session was hard, but it was because you feel like you've just had an off day, take advantage of the option to just add no weight for the next session. It's okay to feel a little bit nervous, but you should always feel confident and hungry for more after each session. If you're familiar with the concept of RPE, or rate of perceived exertion, no lift should exceed a 9.5, or in other words, you should always feel like you have at least one more rep in the tank. And this is a detail that I missed over in the PDF, but for the shoulder press and vertical pulling movement, if you add weight at all within a 3-week period, that's fine. You actually, at the minimum, have to add weight every 3 weeks, not every week, like the other main lifts. So to recap, tip number 2, slow and steady wins the race. Challenge yourself, but don't go to failure. Except if you're a true beginner, then fail once or twice to know what it feels like. Just be sure you have the safety set up properly. Tip 3, be consistent. Life happens. You're going to miss some days, but this program really builds on consistency. So although my bench was going up nicely because I was taking the appropriate jumps in weight, near the end, it actually stopped progressing and actually kind of went a little bit backwards because I missed a bunch of days. So this is 3 weeks of training, but it's actually spread across maybe 5 or even 6 calendar weeks because I missed so many days. So don't get too obsessed about, for instance, making Mondays the lower heavy day, Tuesday the upper heavy day, Wednesday off, Thursday the lower control day, Friday the upper control day. Say if you miss Friday's upper control day, just do it whenever you can. Maybe that's a Monday. That means your lower heavy day will be on Tuesday now. And now your whole training week is scooched over one day. You can just not take Wednesday off to get back on track. Even if it means you have less time to recover and you can't add on weight for a control day, that's okay. Just consistency is more important than adding on weight because it's the consistency that will allow you to add on weight. Not to mention, it will just help you maintain mobility and keep the groove greased, stay in practice, as they say. So don't miss a day if you can. If you miss a day, just do it whenever you can ASAP. Don't skip over it. If you're really busy, consider the 3-day version of this program, which is probably something I should have done. Tip 4, use accessory work to auto-regulate. So what do I mean by that? After the squat, deadlift, bench, shoulder press, and 2 pulling movements, anything after that is optional. So if you don't feel too hot that day, or if squats really killed you, you don't have to do any extra work. If you want to do accessory work, use a range. So do like 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. You can try to get more reps each time you do them. So if you did 8 reps last time, you can try 9 reps next time. But if not, that's fine. Because actually, if you're doing the same work on your accessory work, if you're staying at the same reps, but you're increasing on your main lifts, that still means that you're actually still getting stronger. And don't feel obligated to do all 3 sets. If you don't feel too hot that day, just do 1 set or 2 sets, or maybe nothing at all. I give myself only an hour to work out. And after I finish all my main lifts, whatever time I have left is all the time I have for accessory work. And that's a way to auto-regulate too, because if squats and deadlifts took a long time, meaning they were really hard for me and I had to take long breaks, then I'll do less accessory work to give my whole body a little bit of a break. And speaking of accessory work, for lower days, I do a giant set of crunches, weighted crunches, calf raises, and leg curls. For upper days, I do a superset of curls and dumbbell lateral raises and tricep extensions and cable lateral raises. I was doing chin-ups instead of curls and dips instead of tricep extensions, but that eventually just got to be too much. And the reason I do so many lateral raises is because I know my medial delts need that workload to grow, and it's hard to go heavy on them, so I just add in more volume. But I personally recommend sticking to the same accessory exercises for 3 or 4 weeks. But you can change it really whenever you want and add reps and weight when you can. But the same rules for the main lifts apply here. Don't burn yourself out. Tip 5, make sure you eat, drink, and sleep enough. And this is something that I personally need to focus on too. If you don't like to lift on an empty stomach, but you don't have time for a meal before hitting the gym, maybe have some snacks ready. Overall, in the bigger picture, you should be at a caloric maintenance or surplus. You want to eat more if you want to gain weight and muscle, and you should be at maintenance if you're looking to recomposition or lose weight. Have the training take you into the deficit. I wouldn't really recommend being in a harsh cut with this program. With water, if you feel thirsty in the gym, you already messed up. Water needs time to get into your system, so make sure you're already hydrated and your pee is like a light straw color before you get into the gym. And then just drink water at the gym for comfort, not because you're battling dehydration. And get enough sleep. This is super important. You can mask the problem with coffee, energy drinks, and pre-workouts, but that's just going to make things worse for you in the long run because you get stronger when you recover from a workout. If you don't fully recover, then you're actually just eating away at your recovery abilities. You're just digging a hole, and it's just going to be hard to make any progress in the long run. But even if you didn't get enough sleep, unless it's really bad and it's going to stop you from getting sleep that night, don't skip the gym. It's better to have a shitty workout than to miss one. Again, use the option of not adding any weight or doing any accessory work to your advantage here. So to recap, 1, use as little variation in exercises as possible. More experienced lifters use some variation to help you. Tip number 2, add weight slowly. Slow and steady wins the race. It's better to slowly build your way up than it is to keep hitting a plateau. 3, be as consistent as you can. A crappy training session is better than a missed one. 4, use a range for your accessory work to auto-regulate. 0 to 3 sets and 8 to 12 reps is good. Feel free to use more variation here, but remember, sticking with something for at least 4 weeks gives you a chance to make progress. And lastly, tip number 5, make sure you eat, drink, and sleep enough. Basically, the harder you work, the harder you have to recover. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section down below, and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. Next up, I'm going to show you guys how I handle the hypertrophy version of this program. And then after that, I'm going to tackle the explosive version of this program, which is my first time actually doing that. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Put your goddamn weights away!